In 2003, NASA launched the Spirit rover to explore the surface of Mars. It was designed to last just 90 days, but it ended up lasting 6 years. In fact, it was only stopped by a dust storm. Here are the last pictures that it sent back to Earth, before it was covered by dust and died. And they broke me. I never thought I would be emotionally invested in a robot on another planet, but here we are. The video you're about to see is a supercut of every single image that Spirit took during its entire mission. That's over 86,000 individual photos stitched together into one seamless video, and it is incredible. I mean, the sheer amount of data that had to be processed to make this possible is mind-blowing. Spirit was one of 2 rovers that landed on Mars as part of the Mars exploration program. The other rover was Opportunity, which landed on the opposite side of the planet. Together, these 2 rovers explored more of the Martian surface than all other missions combined, and they did it in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. The first winter on Mars is extremely hard on robots. Temperatures can reach as low as -220 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around -140 degrees Celsius. And there's also something called electrostatic discharge, which can damage the electronics of a rover. You might think that Mars is like a desert, but actually it's a frozen desert. 98% of the planet is covered in ice. Even in the summer, the temperature at the equator can still reach as low as 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 20 degrees Celsius. And then there's the dust. Martian dust storms can literally bury an entire rover if it isn't careful. During Spirit's mission, there were several large dust storms that nearly destroyed the rover, but somehow it survived. This image shows the worst dust storm that Spirit ever encountered. The sky is full of dust, which makes it look like a giant orange. It even says reduced visibility in the upper left corner. This was taken on the 1788th Martian day of Spirit's mission. At this point, it had already been on Mars for more than 4 years. In fact, this picture was taken just 17 days before Spirit stopped working forever. When it took this picture, Spirit was so covered in dust that its solar panels could no longer generate enough power to keep the rover alive. On the 6th of May 2011, after sending back its last image, Spirit went silent. It had given up its life trying to explore Mars and discover its secrets. In total, Spirit traveled over 7.7 miles, or 12.2 kilometers across the surface of Mars. That's about the same distance as walking from Los Angeles to San Francisco. It climbed over rocks, sand dunes and craters. It even managed to drive up a small hill named West Spur, and when it reached the top, it took this amazing panoramic photo looking back down at where it came from. One of the main goals of the Spirit mission was to find evidence of past or present life on Mars. To do this, it carried a number of scientific instruments, including a spectrometer, a mixed-power spectrometer, a thermal emission spectrometer, and a set of microscopic cameras. With these tools, Spirit analyzed the rocks and soil of Mars to try to determine if it had ever been habitable. In fact, Spirit was designed to last only 90 sols, which is how many days are in a Martian year. 1 sol is equal to 24.6 Earth hours, so a Martian day is slightly longer than an Earth day. But don't forget that a Martian year is almost twice as long as an Earth year. So why did it end up staying on Mars for so long? Well, it's because Spirit kept finding new and interesting things to explore. For example, when it arrived at Gusev crater, it found evidence that water had once flowed through the area. This was exciting because water is essential for life as we know it. So if water once flowed through this area, then it's possible that life could have existed there. Spirit also found a lot of minerals that are only created in the presence of water. For example, it found calcite, which is a type of limestone that forms in water. It also found gypsum, which is a mineral that forms in salty water. All of these clues made it seem more and more likely that Mars had once been a watery planet. But perhaps the most exciting discovery that Spirit made was this rock named Adirondack. Adirondack is a type of rock that is only found on Earth in places where there is a lot of organic material. Organic material is like dead plants and animals that have decayed over time. So the fact that Spirit found this type of rock on Mars was very surprising. This is because it suggested that Mars could have once had a lot of organic material, which means that it could have once supported life. Adirondack is also special because it contains a lot of carbon. Carbon is the basic building block of all life on Earth. So the fact that Spirit found this type of rock on Mars was very exciting. It's possible that the carbon in Adirondack came from ancient bacteria that lived on Mars, or maybe it came from meteorites that crashed into the planet. We don't know for sure, but we're hoping that future missions to Mars will be able to answer this question. After finding Adirondack, Spirit traveled to a new area of Mars called the Columbia Hills. The Columbia Hills are a group of small hills that are rich in minerals like gypsum. Again, gypsum forms in the presence of water, so this suggests that the Columbia Hills were once underwater. As Spirit explored the Columbia Hills, it took some amazing panoramic photos. These photos show the rocky landscape of Mars, as well as some of the strange formations that can be found in the hills. Spirit also took some close-up photos of rocks that showed signs of water erosion. These rocks looked like they had been carved out by flowing water, which again suggested that the area was once much wetter than it is now. Unfortunately, Spirit never got to explore much beyond the Columbia Hills. By this point in its mission, it was getting harder and harder to drive due to the increasing amounts of dust on its solar panels. Eventually, the dust covered its solar panels completely, and it could no longer generate enough power to stay alive. On May 2011, Spirit took its last photo. It was a picture of the rocky ground in front of it, with the caption, "My power is really low, so this may be the last image I can send. Don't worry about me though. My time here has been both productive and serene. If I can keep talking to my missions team, I will. But I'll be signing off here soon. Thanks for staying with me. It's hard to believe that this little robot stayed on Mars for so long. And it's even harder to believe that it managed to take more than 86,000 pictures during that time, but it did. And those pictures have taught us so much about our Martian neighbor. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video about the Spirit rover. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos about space. And if you have any video suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Every frame of this video was taken by Spirit during its mission on Mars between 2004 and 2011. This video is a supercut of all of those frames stitched together in order. I used the raw image data from NASA's website to stitch these frames together. For each frame, I first removed the background and then cropped the image to remove any extra space. After that, I used an online tool to stitch all of the images together into one video. The resulting video is 86,213 frames long and is over 11 minutes in length. This project was really challenging, but it was also really rewarding. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Now let's get into the technical details. I used Python to process each frame of the video. First, I looped through each frame and removed the background. Then I cropped the image to remove any extra space. Finally, I saved the processed image to a new folder. Next, I use FempEg to stitch all of the images together into one video. FempEg is a command line tool that is used to process video files. I use the following command to stitch all of the images together. This command creates a new video file called Spirit Rover MP4. The video is 86,213 frames long, and each frame is 1280 by 1024 pixels. The video is also encoded using the H.264 codec. This project was really challenging, but it was also really rewarding. I learned a lot about image processing and video editing, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope that you enjoy it too.